Welcome to our live coverage of Manufacturing Day from Manufacturing Talk Radio. Today we're going to be breaking away to the live event. It's a live virtual event that the New Jersey Manufacturing Extension Partnership has put together with many of the dignitaries from the state and federal government and an executive from a local bank that works in the manufacturing industry. And we're excited that they're allowing us to broadcast them live, and they're excited that they're getting the coverage across Manufacturing Talk Radio and our syndicated network. Lou?
For those who are listening who are not all that up to speed with what Manufacturing Day is, which is the first Friday of October for the last 9 years, which we have been at, I think, about 8 of them. This is our first virtual reality one in view of COVID virus. So this is all new experience for everybody involved. To let our audience and listeners know, this Manufacturing Day was put together by 4 associations: NAM, the Association of Manufacturers, the Fabricators Manufacturing Association, NIST, NIST, which is part of the Department of Commerce. We've got today we have Governor Phil Murphy, Governor of New Jersey. We have Steve Sweeney, who's a state senator. We have Linda Greenstein, who's also a state senator. Steve Oroho. We have the president of NJMEP, John Kennedy, of course. And they're going to be talking about where manufacturing is at, why Manufacturing Day has been created. And just to give my insight into that, in the beginning, they got companies to open up, do plant tours for other companies to see how manufacturing companies are doing and how they're doing the new advanced manufacturing techniques, number one. Number two, they have a lot of students. Matter of fact, one year we took a busload of kids down to New Jersey MEP in New Jersey and let them hear what's going on, why manufacturing is a good career choice, and we had parents there as well to let them know that college is not the answer all for their little sweeties. So it's very interesting, and I think the first year they did this, they had 600 events across the country. We now have thousands of tours across the country. Today we are live streaming to 10,000 manufacturers in the state of New Jersey. So we hope this is interesting and informative and educational, and ready to go. Tim?
We're getting the high sign from John Kennedy, who is the president of the New Jersey Manufacturing Extension Partnership, that they're about to go live. So we're going to break away to Manufacturing Day and the keynote address.
2, 1, cut.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The whole idea of this event this year is to talk mainly about unsung heroes and partnerships. And before I came in, Mike Womack from here told us that there's been about 1,400 people that have signed up. I'm not usually asked to tick off that many people all at once, but it's a new challenge for me. I am going to mention some groups and some people because I don't think I would give justice to what we have to do today if I didn't do that. And I know I'm going to anger a couple people that I may omit just by accident, but please bear with me. I came here 8 years ago after selling my engineering business, and about 3 months after I came, what happened was Superstorm Sandy. And I'm very proud of what happened through the NMEP at that time. Our staff jumped up and did a lot of things. For some reason, our business had phones and electrical, so we were able to work, but we weren't prepared. We really weren't. We were reactionary. We did whatever had to do. We found generators. We talked to electrical and water suppliers, first responders, the government, anybody that would listen, but we really weren't prepared, and we didn't have the relationships that we do now. After that, we got together and we said we need to have a risk plan. We need to have something so that things, happen. Not every day is COVID, but every day is hurricanes, storms, forest fires, etc. There's always some type of crisis. A friend of mine told me that there's 300,000 crises of magnitude in the United States every year. So we put together a plan. We worked very closely with the MEP National Network. We're in every state in Puerto Rico, so that's a great resource to have to work with. Fast forward to March 1st, and all of a sudden things start to change. We looked I'm new to this and I'm live, so I'm getting signals, like cut, but I'll keep going. Our staff immediately went into 24/7, 365 mode. They jumped on it and got together. We pulled out our plan and we put together, 7 smaller task force teams working on things from business-related aspects to sales to safety to operations and so on. We used our board of trustees. You'll see a lot of pictures of our team here and our board of trustees behind me, because these are the people that have stepped up. Our board, and I was going to say they were our test dummies, but I'll say they were our test pilots of our programs before we release them out to the rest of the industry. I want to bring up three areas that we focused on to start. The first one was the critical supply chain. Rob Sturmauer, our COO, and a bunch of our guys got on it. We have about 9,000 companies in our database, but as we know, there was issues with PPE, and we were searching for companies throughout the state and working with them. Rob and the team found 300 companies approximately that worked tirelessly, some retooled, some re-engineered, to help us provide additional PPE to our state and honestly to our country. It was an amazing effort, and thank goodness we had some teammates outside of NJMEP. The Business Action Center and Melanie Willoughby, Tim Sullivan's EDA, kudos to Doug, Eric, and Brian over there. They were tireless in their efforts. The governor's staff, Justin Braz, was a constant connection to so many of us to help learn about supply chain, but also push it forward. The second part was more communications. Our marketing team, led by Peter Oken, really stepped it up. We've always been pretty good at communicating, but we had to do a variety of things, and we had to do them on the fly. We created a recovery and back to work guide, and it needed to be changed a heck of a lot because as more information came in, more changes needed to be adapted into it so it was an effective document. Our Debbie Fitzgerald was the keeper of that, and we stole from a lot of places. We stole from other MEPs, we stole from CDC, from medical journals. We wanted the best information so that companies could go back to work. And believe it, we never closed here, so we tested those all personally, and knock on wood, to this day, we've all stayed healthy. The third area is the mini assessments. A lot of you know that we never engage with the company unless we do a full assessment, a full business assessment, which takes several hours. We decided that the best way to approach it today was put together a small mini assessment so we could find out your immediate needs and where we needed to focus aspects of our work, but also so that we could effectively go after some federal dollars in the CARES Act. The MEP National Network again stepped up, and we were able to bring in $1.25 million into New Jersey. and 100% of that goes to manufacturers. We're running two big programs. One we're calling Tri-50, which is all of our components that we generally provide to you in plant, Lean, Six Sigma, food safety, cyber, business growth, all of those areas. And we're giving the first 2.5 days of the expert consulting at no cost to you, because we want to get you moving back. We know that money's tight, and we want to give you a chance. And we need to move forward. A lot of our processes, both here at NJMEP and across the state, need to be adapted. The second is called Project 160, and that's our Pro-Action Network team. This is a group that has focused on training up for credentials and for apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeships. And we went out and are going to use 160 new hires into the industry, because there is no pipeline. I think we're all trading back and forth the same 16 welders and machinists back and forth between companies, but we need to build that pipeline, and we have some incredible people in there. So our industrial production technician apprentice will always begins with the MSSC credential. That's the Manufacturing Skills Standard Council credential, and that's a national credit. So we're going to work with the Trenton area, the Newark area, Patterson and Camden to be able to bring 160 people into the industry. You can either hire them once they're credentialed or as they're being credentialed, or you can do a temp to perm, because we know that it's hard sometimes to just hire somebody outside, and Manpower is our teammate there. All of these things fit into the Pro-Action Network, which is our apprenticeship programs. We have to be there, and thank goodness we've got a teammate in the state of New Jersey. Our DOL, Commissioner Rob Asaro-Angelo, his apprentice director, Nick Toth. They stand tall in this stuff, and they've been in contact with us to make sure that we can move ahead. Also, the US DOL. In New Jersey, Donna Scalia, Bernie Tremmel, they bring other things to pass, and that helps us build team arrangements with groups like NJIT, who's been a partner from day one, and NJII, and their Midas grants. I'm especially proud of the people you see behind me, because over the last 6 months, they've worked directly with 3,700 plus companies. This has been 24/7, 365, and sometimes it seems like it's been a year and not 6 months. They've also mini-assessed 1,000 companies, and for all those that participated, thank you for helping us, because that helped us get that $1.25 million, but also thank you for being able to provide us with information so that we can assist your company. Keep in mind, though, that we'll be back to you on those mini-assessments. We need to talk to you. How about some more partners, because we're talking about that? New Jersey MEP has a great team, internal team, but we also have about 70 plus resources. They're experts in the field. Our affiliates are all the professional style companies, the CPAs, the lawyers, the insurance company, the banks that stand out, and do a lot of work with us. How about associations and chambers? As my dad always liked to say, when he would tell me about something new, he'd say, well, it's not your father's such and such. Well, these are not your father's associations. NJBIA has been our partner in Manufacturing Day for all 8 years, but they've also been a partner to manufacturing for over 100. They took the lead and helped tie in business groups, but they're not the only ones. Tony over at CIANJ, Christine down at the South Jersey Chamber, the BioNJ, Hinge, and Morris County Chamber. We ran some superb events, and especially who I call my little brother, John Harmon from the African American Chamber. They stepped up immediately and started doing some amazing panel programs virtually. And I spent most of my time, even when I was a panelist, copying notes down to make sure that I was learning from people like Dale Favors and Willie Richardson. The media, They never do enough for manufacturing, in my opinion. But that's unfair to them because I also know that a lot of manufacturers don't like to engage on that level, and we're slowly changing that. But NJBiz, ROINJ, New Jersey Business and Commerce magazines all ran features and all did some excellent digging and work to find out what was there and what was going on. A special shout out though to Lou Weiss over at Manufacturing Talk Radio. Lou's a manufacturer who actually turned around and started a radio podcast, and Manufacturing Talk Radio came out of it. You know, it is a tremendous resource to all of us and something that we cannot forget. But the reality is, though, it's all about the manufacturers. People get stunned when I tell them that there's about 11,000 manufacturers in the state of New Jersey, and they hire about 380,000 of us every year. These guys quietly went to work and stayed at work. You know, it's not an easy thing, as we all know, going to work when you're concerned about your health or your family's health, but they did it. I will tell you that almost every email and phone call that I received during the past 6 months, the first thing always started is, how can I protect my people? And that's really pretty amazing because they understand firsthand that no company exists without a good team. I'm blessed with that, and I know a lot of you are as well. Add in the STEM companies, add in logistics and transportation, and those are the ones that keep us rolling. Sadly, I think what happens sometimes is that we look at the negatives. So obviously, the PPE lack, you know, that comes out. Oh, we're not manufacturing here in the States. Well, we certainly do. But that's the product of a flawed supply chain that needs to be repaired not only in New Jersey, but in the country. We've got the companies that can do it. We've just got to work with them. The second one that got me, and I still don't understand, is toilet paper. Every time we have some type of crisis, everybody runs to get toilet paper. I've never understood that, and I was going to say something like, I just don't get this crap, but I won't stoop to that level of humor. Did any of you miss out on things? Probably some things, but you got your medications. You got your food. You had gasoline. You had electrical power. You had treated water. You had repair parts for your vehicles and your house. You had construction products. That's what the manufacturing industry brings to bear. Nothing happens without that stuff. And you didn't think about it. So while I'm all for everybody calling out and shouting out to the medical professionals, the first responders, the people at the grocery stores, and so many others, I ask you today to not forget the unsung heroes, and that's who we're honoring. My mom told me almost every day, and it used to drive me crazy, but now it rings out when I wake up. She said, make a positive difference today. And that's what you guys do pretty constantly. Thank you for that.
I'm incredibly honored to be spending time with you today in celebration of New Jersey manufacturers as we celebrate Manufacturing Day 2020. Now more than ever, shining a spotlight on all the great work that New Jersey manufacturers perform for our state, for our country, for our communities. There is no better time than now to celebrate the jobs that you employ, the future workforce that you prepare, and all that you do to provide products and services to our citizens each and every day. We say it every day at NJBIA. Manufacturing is at the core of what we do, not just in our state, but in our nation. I am so proud of our New Jersey manufacturers who have stepped up during COVID-19 to tweak their manufacturing facilities in order to deliver needed resources, products, and services at a time of crisis. We know New Jersey manufacturers are able to pivot on a dime and that was so much proven over the last 6 months. But now we need to step back and make sure that we are finding all the resources and support that you, our manufacturers, need in order to stay tight as we continue to fight COVID and our broken economy. Look, New Jersey is a tough state to do business in, even pre-COVID. And now, more than ever, we need to ensure that our manufacturers have the resources that they need in order to sustain. At NJBIA, we wake up every day to create new jobs here in the state of New Jersey and to ensure a future workforce to fill those jobs. We know the challenges in filling those jobs for our manufacturing facilities, when even pre-COVID we had tens of thousands of vacant level positions because we lacked the proper skill sets in our students who were coming to fill those jobs. COVID didn't stop us in continuing to work with our partners in the academic realm to continue to build those skills, and we will continue to do that today, tomorrow, and for years to come. To all of you, congratulations for what you do for our state, for our communities, and for our great nation. Cheers.
Hey everybody, Governor Phil Murphy here. I congratulate the New Jersey Manufacturing Extension Program for its many contributions on this National Manufacturing Day, and I extend, as always, my thanks and admiration to my friend CEO John Kennedy. The past several months have turned our state upside down, but make no mistake, a strong manufacturing sector is a key component for us to not just emerge strong from this pandemic, but to create a more resilient economy for years to come. I know many of your businesses have stayed open and operational throughout this time, and I thank you for your commitment to your employees and your communities. And I thank you for making sure the families who rely upon you remain safe and healthy. And I thank NJMEP for providing necessary guidance to each of you to see this through. You have been essential to our state's response. In fact, New Jersey's manufacturers and your employees have been among the unsung frontline heroes during the COVID-19 pandemic. And by continuing to work together, we can do more to reposition our state for long-term growth and success. As you know, one of our shared priorities has been to ensure that New Jersey creates the skilled workforce that the future of our manufacturing sector will rely upon. I am proud of all we have done together to make New Jersey a national model for apprenticeships and job training, and I look forward to continued progress together. And for our small businesses, I am proud of the more than $100 million we have already made available to directly support you during these unprecedented times. My team and I look forward to continuing our work with John and the New Jersey Manufacturers Extension Program and with your companies. I wish you all the best today and thank you for your enormous contributions to your communities, our state, and our nation. Thank you all, and God bless you all.
You discovered new ways to connect with family, friends, and coworkers. You learned to work productively from home and that you can do business virtually. We've seen a more human side of each other. Embrace this new perspective. Rethink how work gets done. You can't go back entirely to the old way of doing things. Withel can help your business thrive in this new reality. Remote, secure, collaborative, productive. Welcome to the new normal of business. Withel.
Hi, I'm back, and for probably the last time today, they're going to drag me off with the hook later on. I did want you to see those videos first because, you know, they go without an introduction. Michelle Sakurka and her team at NJBIA, you know, stand up all the time, not just during a crisis. It's difficult to do business in New Jersey, so we need the NJBIAs of the world and teammates like Michelle, Chrissy, and Chris. The Governor Phil Murphy, I wouldn't want his job over the last 6 months. It seems like it's easy to get involved and engaged, you know, as a leader in this neighborhood, but this is a difficult thing because everybody's going to second guess everything you do. I'm proud that he's thought enough of us to reach out and to talk about manufacturing, and by keeping it essential, A lot of other states didn't do that. They closed down manufacturing, or they closed down parts of it. All you have to do is think about going into a store and think, what was the last time you bought bread or medication without some type of a container? And then you realize that there is a supply chain, and packaging and labeling are important. The governor did that, and he supported us through that effort, and his team supported us through his effort. With them, can't say enough about Jim Hannon and his team. They're great to work with, you know, and those are parts of the professional affiliates that we've been able to draw upon. So wanted to have you see them first. Next, I'm going to introduce our keynote speakers, and I'm going to introduce them in a bulk so that you don't have to get bored by me. You can listen to the good words by them. I'm not a big fan of reading off somebody's bio because you can all find that pretty well. But I like to talk a little bit about some of the people and what they mean to me. Congressman Josh Gottheimer from New Jersey's 5th District. He fast has come to be a good friend of the industry. He understands supply chain. He understands manufacturing. And what he doesn't, he asks questions about. He's vocal about the things that we need to do to help, and not just help the United States, which is part of his job, but to help New Jersey and the manufacturers here. Jason Alexander is another one of our affiliate team members, and he heads up their industrial products group. And RSM is just one of those teammates that we can go to. Yep, they're sponsors of this event, but it's not about them being a sponsor. It's about them taking our phone calls and jumping in to help when they get to that opportunity and that chance. It doesn't happen often. Senate President Steve Sweeney, he had the insight and the foresight to be able to create the Manufacturing Caucus. That's a bicameral, bi-legislative group that is now entering its 4th year. They've really worked very hard for us, and he was able to know early in the game that this was a big gap in the state of New Jersey. He understands that because he's in construction and union work and so on, so he understands that things have to be fed to exist. And I appreciate what he's going to say about the state of manufacturing in New Jersey. State Senator Linda Greenstein. She's the co-chair of that Manufacturing Caucus along with Senator Steve Oroho. They have been tireless, and I would truly like to name everybody on that group because I've talked to them hundreds of times, asking questions, answering questions, helping things, asking them for help. An amazing group, again, bipartisan, bicameral, and they work together amazingly well, especially those two at the top. Linda comes to her joy of manufacturing through her husband Michael, but I think that even though she started as a lawyer, she really wanted to be an engineer. And I say this because she's smart enough to be anything, engineer, Rhodes Scholar, anything, and we appreciate her. And her chief of staff, Sean Gregory, keeps everything flowing, and believe me, we've had a lot on our table of late. Lastly, Cummings, CEO of Investors Bank. Obviously an incredible finance person, but more than that, he really gets down deep into helping small and mid-sized companies. Not every bank can do that. Larger banks sometimes struggle with that, not because they're bad banks, but because that's not a focus. But Kevin and Investors is a little bit different. And today I have to forgive him because as a Madison Dodger lifelong, I know that he's a long-term Summit Hilltopper, and we're rivals, but today he's my ally. Lastly, I want to talk about a song, Unsung Heroes. This was an amazing thing that happened, and I hope it's a tribute to all of you out there. Our Sally White, who is a senior director here, reached out to her much younger brother, Andy, over in the UK, and Andy put together, he wrote, performed, arranged and produced this song in record time, and to me it's fabulous. I've listened to it almost every morning for the last 6 months. It's kept my spirits up. And what's cool about Andy is that he went to his lead singer, Andre Saint, to provide the vocals. Now, Andre Saint is a really awesome rock and roll name. But more importantly, Andre's actually a manufacturer in his day job. And he's also a survivor of COVID. So, Unsung Heroes, here's to you.
New Jersey is a great state because we are a manufacturing state. And you are the manufacturing heroes. You're essential. You keep New Jersey and the world moving.
Unsung heroes, we now sing for you. You keep us going through the work you do. You make our lives feel more secure. When all around seems so unsure. Listen, with your resolve, you make us proud.
You keep New Jersey and the world moving.
New Jersey, let me hear it out. How did you dare to be so strong? You won't stood up and held the line. I should have known it all along. You are the heroes of our time. I feel a shadow approaching and doubt fills the air. Then out of the darkness of light, I open my eyes, and you are
New Jersey is a great state because we are a manufacturing state. You keep New Jersey and the world moving. You are our manufacturing heroes. You are essential. We salute you. New Jersey is a great state because we are a manufacturing state. You keep New Jersey and the world moving. You are our manufacturing heroes. You are essential. We salute you.
Hello, NJMEP. It's Congressman Josh Gottheimer here. I hope you are well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm grateful for a few minutes to talk with you today. I hope your families are safe and healthy. I hope that your businesses are okay through this very tough time. I know as we continue to face a health crisis and an economic crisis in New Jersey and across our country. So as somebody who represents parts of Sussex, Warren, Passaic, and Bergen counties, I see firsthand the struggles we're facing as an economy, but also the great potential and ingenuity that you've all shown throughout this whole crisis and, of course, over the years. And I'm very proud to be with you virtually on Manufacturing Day, obviously New Jersey's largest manufacturing event. I wish we could do this in person, but I understand our limitations, so thank you so much for letting me do it this way. You know, I continue to be incredibly proud of NJMEP's work with so many small and mid-sized manufacturers all throughout the Garden State. That feeling for me has never been stronger than, as I said, seeing what you've done these last months. As we know, manufacturing remains the backbone of our great American economy, with more than 600 employers and 10,000 employees across the 5th District. New Jersey is no exception to the show of great strength of our manufacturing sector. Every single New Jersey manufacturer was deemed essential, and I know that all of you are working hard to help our state and our nation through this crisis. Today, even though we're coming together this way, it's vital that we're spreading the word and still doing so about all the benefits that manufacturing provides to all of us and to our economy. You all are unlocking new technologies every day, helping strengthen our supply chains, which we saw are so vitally important right now, especially I think that's one of the things that we learned more than anything during COVID, the importance of a strong American manufacturing supply chain, because when you need it, it needs to be there for us, for our health, for our safety, and I think that's one lesson that obviously has come out of this in a pretty strong way. And I hope we're smart to address it quickly. And I think that we need to do everything we can, and this might help to get our economy back to recover and grow in North Jersey, the area that I represent, of course, and all around the state. In fact, some manufacturers here in New Jersey are at the forefront of ensuring our nation has the syringes and needles we'll need to deploy a COVID-19 vaccine when it's ready. And I think we're all praying that soon. And getting PPE to our first responders, which we continue to need, and of course to our frontline healthcare workers, students in schools and seniors, long-term care facilities, and all of our essential employees. To support everything the diverse manufacturing industry does for New Jersey, I've been very focused here in Congress in filling the skills gap issues our state has. To create good paying jobs, to bring growth, and to bring more innovation to New Jersey, we need to rapidly transform our state. And right now in New Jersey, we have an employment skills mismatch. We need to work on fixing that. I know New Jersey, it's got the goods, to say the least, and we've got the talent and we've got the drive. Now it's just a matter of what we all make of it, and I know that's something you're always focused on. That's why I've been working to ensure our colleges, community colleges, and technical schools are putting the right programs in place to help identify federal investment opportunities to expand STEM, education and training, and foster public-private partnerships to train students to be able to fill manufacturing jobs in North Jersey. I'm also focused on getting taxes down because it's already too expensive, in my opinion, to live here in the state, and we need to keep residents here and businesses here and jobs here, not having them leave New Jersey. It's time that we fully reinstate the state and local tax deduction, which I've been pushing for, and I've gotten legislation out of the House on, to get our hardworking Jersey families the tax relief they need. As always, I'm fighting to cut red tape and unnecessary bureaucracy, so it's easier for businesses to start, grow, and get people to work. And as negotiations for the next COVID package continue, and we continue to work on that today, I've led a bipartisan group urging congressional leadership to allow small businesses to apply for a second round of federal investment from the PPP program, which you all know about, to help our small businesses, as well as many other steps to help many of our sectors, including our restaurants and airlines and others that are so critical to our economy, and manufacturing, of course, being at the forefront of that. Also, just last month, the House passed bipartisan legislation that included my provision to address American supply chain issues caused by COVID-19. My provision highlights the need for additional investment in domestic manufacturing supply lines, specifically through the Manufacturing Extension Program, to ensure New Jersey MEP can continue on its mission. These are just a few things I'm doing to fight for New Jersey and for NJMEP and for Jersey manufacturers in Congress, and it's all because of how hard I know you are working here in Jersey. Today on Manufacturing Day, I just wanted to say thank you again. I wanted to salute you for your work, for all you do, and thank you for your dedication to our great state and to my district. Because of everything you do, everything you create, and all the industries that you support, I know our best days will always be ahead of us here in the greatest country in the world. So thank you. God bless you and your families, and may God continue to bless and watch over the United States of America.
Prepare for challenges specific to your business by working with trusted advisors who help turn obstacles into opportunities. Experience the power of being understood. RSM, Audit, Tax, and Consulting for the Middle Market.
Welcome to RSM's Manufacturing Sector Update. My name is Jason Alexander, and I am a consulting principal and also serve as one of the firm's industrial senior analysts. RSM is honored to support the New Jersey manufacturing industry and to continue being a key sponsor for this year's event. We also want to thank the New Jersey Manufacturing Extension Program for all the hard work they have been doing since the global pandemic began, as they have been behind the scenes fighting for the rights and well-being of our industry. A few words about RSM before we begin. RSM US LLP is the US member firm of RSM International, a global network of independent audit, tax, and consulting firms with more than 43,000 people in 120 countries spread across 810 offices. RSM's purpose is to deliver the power of being understood to our clients, colleagues, and communities through world-class audit, tax, and consulting services focused on middle market businesses. RSM's industrials practice covers the manufacturing, energy, business-to-business, and logistics sectors, serving more than 3,000 manufacturers nationally with over 1,500 dedicated professionals. I'm excited to bring to you today the industry trends that are most relevant for middle market manufacturers and the implications for you as leaders of those organizations. I want to start with the state of global manufacturing. The recovery of the global manufacturing sector gathered pace in August, with output and new orders rising at the fastest rates since April 2018 and June 2018 respectively. The J.P. Morgan Global Manufacturing PMI rose to a 21-month high of 51.8 from 50.6 in July, and above the neutral 50 mark for the second successive month. The upturn was mainly driven by the restarting of production and reopening of clients following lockdowns in response to the COVID-19 outbreak. August saw manufacturing output increase for the second month running, following 5 months of declines. Production rose across 3 subsectors covered by the survey, with growth accelerating to a 16-month high at consumers good producers and to 30 and 23-month peaks in the intermediate and investment goods categories respectively. The survey also noted the level of incoming new business also rose for the second consecutive month. However, the recent rebound in new order inflows was achieved despite a continued downturn in international trade. New export business has decreased throughout the past 2 years, a sequence that started in September 2018. Lower inflows of work from abroad were registered across much of the Asia region, including key exporting territories such as Japan, South Korea, and India. While there were positives to take away from the survey, global manufacturing employment declined for the 9th consecutive month in August. That said, the pace of job losses eased to the weakest since January. So overall, the manufacturing sector on a global level appears to have stabilized. Moving on to U.S. manufacturing. Overall, U.S. manufacturing is an essential component of U.S. gross domestic product, driving around 12% of U.S. economic output according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis. Manufactured goods comprise half of U.S. exports, and every dollar spent in manufacturing adds approximately $1.89 in business growth and other supporting sectors, including retailing, transportation, and business services. So the role of manufacturing on the U.S. economy can't be ignored, a fact that I am sure is not lost on this group. The Institute for Supply Management data for August showed factory activity increased to 56 during the month from 54.2 in July, with 15 of the 18 manufacturing sectors reporting growth. This was the fastest pace of expansion since Q4 2018. Readings above 50 generally indicate expansion, and August reading was well ahead of forecasts, which expected the reading to register 54.5. This marks the 4th consecutive month of expansion and a sharp reversal from the 11-year low of 41.5 that we saw in April. The headline index was lifted by sharp increases in orders and production, both growing for the 3rd consecutive month, with new orders also reaching the highest level since December 2017. Factory inventories fell to 44.4 in August, the lowest reading since January 2014, indicating that stocks were declining at a faster pace. Customer inventories contracted at the quickest rate since June 2018, and that was also highlighted in the report. So, again, the manufacturing index performed better than forecasts, with new orders and production improving, but similar to what we saw at the global level, the outlook for employment remains challenged. The ISM employment index rose to a 6-month high in August, but was still below the 50 level, which shows factories are continuing to cut staff, albeit at a slower pace. Overall, what we saw in last month's report underscores a steady recovery for U.S. manufacturers, who were some of the first to cease operations in late March due to coronavirus-induced shutdowns and subsequent supply chain disruptions. As we look forward, we expect manufacturers to continue their focus on technological innovation, focusing on supply chain transparency, increasing their manufacturing efficiency, and reducing risk of operational disruptions. So, what has this slowdown and the associated disruptions shown us? Many organizations' business continuity plans have fallen short in adapting to disruption from the pandemic, especially during the early days of the crisis. Businesses in the United States and globally had to act swiftly to mitigate supply chain shocks as the flow of materials from China ground to a halt. It is now very clear that organizations that invested in digital solutions were better positioned to weather the storm, proving more agile than peers that did not make such investments. As companies have restarted operations and moved towards the recovery phase, they face the question of what manufacturing and its supply chains will look like in the future. These considerations will require companies to assess just how much they rely on a system that has become increasingly globalized over the past 3 decades. U.S. manufacturing production and supply chains have shifted dramatically, shaped by the relocation of some elements of production to countries with lower cost labor, with China arguably being the largest beneficiary of this long-term trend. As international production and supply chains have grown more complex, companies' indirect exposure to their suppliers' supply chains has become an increasingly important factor. Manufacturers have adapted their business models to take advantage of highly interconnected international supply chains, which greatly reduce their operating costs. Over the past few years, however, rising labor costs and growing geopolitical tensions have spurred more organizations to question globalization across many manufacturing sectors, especially for organizations dependent on China. A Gartner Inc. survey of 260 global supply chain leaders in February and March 2020 found that 33% had moved sourcing and manufacturing activities out of China or plan to do so in the next 2 to 3 years, as well as 25% of respondents who indicated that they have already regionalized or localized manufacturing to be closer to the demand. There remains concerns that these trends may accelerate due to the pandemic and the potential for future outbreaks. So again, it is very clear that manufacturers have been forced to develop resilience and agility in real time to deal with the pandemic, while simultaneously managing their liquidity and overall financial position. This trend could lead to diverging paths for organizations. Some organizations might accelerate their digital transformation efforts, while others in cash preservation mode, delaying their Industry 4.0 initiatives. Consequently, as more businesses emerge from the crisis, the case for further digitization at scale will likely be stronger than ever. To that point, 82% of respondents to a recent Manufacturing Leadership Council survey indicated the pandemic brought about a greater sense of urgency about Industry 4.0 digitization at their company to either a partial or a significant extent. As more and more organizations implement advanced technologies, interaction between businesses serves as the foundation for the supply chain to turn into a digital platform where all participants have access to a vast amount of data. That will enable all involved to more effectively measure demand and achieve more flexibility, visibility, and stability in the overall value chain. Next, I wanted to talk about the regionalization of supply chains and manufacturing. According to Bank of America Global Research, companies in 2/3 of global sectors in North America have either implemented or announced plans to pull at least a portion of their supply chains out of China, while companies in 50% of country sectors in the Asia-Pacific ex-China region are doing likewise. As manufacturers seek to more effectively manage risk while seeking growth, we expect further development and greater use of regional manufacturing innovation hubs. The idea behind regional hubs is that local businesses, governments, economic development agencies, and educational institutions would create a powerful collective to set a path for the strong growth of regional manufacturing. Better proximity to consumers, the supply of skilled labor, and ecosystem synergies are all attractive benefits to the manufacturing hub model. This may also lead to more robust local supply chains, as it is more likely that intercontinental trade will shift towards final goods or components closer to the finished product. In addition, as manufacturers seek out growth, the growth will typically come from markets and demographics, as well as developing new products and services to meet shifting customer demands for customized, on-demand goods and services. These shifts will require understanding and meeting new consumption patterns and preferences, as well as providing goods and services in new locations and formats. In response, manufacturers will have an opportunity to develop nimble, regional supply chains that can meet both commercial expectations and long-term sustainability aspirations. So, given some of the challenges and trends that I just discussed, where does that leave manufacturers? We expect organizations to undertake a rigorous analysis of their strategy and business model, especially as it relates to their global supply chains. The current environment should serve as an opportunity for organizations to evaluate the role of Industry 4.0. The concept of Industry 4.0, a term often used to describe the fourth industrial revolution, is that advanced analytics, intelligent robots, and the Internet of Things will infuse all aspects of manufacturing and supply chains, revolutionizing processes and delivering enhanced productivity, agility, and fostering innovation throughout an organization's entire value chain. We also expect an acceleration in the development of regional manufacturing hubs as organizations focus on developing additional sources and greater resiliency in their supply chains. However, we do not expect this to be the norm for products that are labor-intensive or designed for consumption in local markets. In closing, I hope you found these insights helpful. Please don't forget to visit our virtual booth, where you can find links to follow our monthly Industrials newsletter, economic publications, tax alerts, and other resources geared towards helping your business thrive. More importantly, you can meet our New Jersey manufacturing sector leader, Andre Chavanel, and the rest of our RSM professionals. We would love to talk further with you about your business and how RSM can drive value at your organization. Thank you again for your time.
Well, this is a little different manufacturing day than I'm used to. You know, I'm used to seeing everyone in Trenton and having healthy conversations about how we can improve manufacturing in New Jersey. I want to wish John Kennedy the best. He's done a hell of a job as a leader of this organization. You know, a lot of people in the state don't have any idea how much manufacturing exists in New Jersey. 9,000 employers and 240,000 workers in the state that are employed in manufacturing. That's a huge piece of our economy. It's about 8.5% of our economy. So again, the more we can grow our economy by working with our colleges on stackable credits in our schools, it's only going to make manufacturing better in the state. And that's why we created the New Jersey Manufacturing Caucus, Legislative Caucus, with Senator Linda Greenstein, who's chairing it, along with Steve Oroho, because it's a bipartisan panel of legislators looking how we can move and improve manufacturing in the state of New Jersey. That's why we put $1.5 million in this budget to back this industry up. Even in tough times, it's important that we show we're making the investments to make sure that this industry thrives in New Jersey. Manufacturing is the backbone of this country and the backbone of this state. In World War II, when the wars broke out, you know, our car plants switched to making tanks. And here in New Jersey, during this pandemic, a lot of our manufacturers switched to making PPE. I can't thank you enough for all you do. We value what you do. We look forward to working with you in the future to ensure that manufacturing thrives and grows and continues to outperform other parts of this country. Again, John, thank you and all your manufacturers for what you do for us here in New Jersey.
Hello there. This is Senator Linda Greenstein, the chair of the New Jersey Legislative Manufacturing Caucus, welcoming you to another Manufacturing Day in New Jersey. Thank you to everyone participating in this year's virtual Manufacturing Day. And a special thank you to everyone from New Jersey MEP who worked to put this together and make today possible. I first want to recognize all of the hardworking manufacturers, healthcare professionals, and other essential workers who have faced the pandemic head-on. You have ensured that the daily lives of so many Americans are able to move forward into a new normal. I would also ask that we take a brief moment to think of those we have lost to COVID-19. Thank you. As chair of the Legislative Manufacturing Caucus, I work closely with John Kennedy, New Jersey MEP, and my other colleagues to find ways that we as a state can help grow manufacturing in the state of New Jersey. Earlier in the pandemic, we called together a virtual roundtable of our members and manufacturers from around the state to hear what we could do to help during these trying times and what their frustrations were as small businesses. We heard frustrations about the uncertainty caused by the quickly changing landscape of executive orders being signed almost every day, the volatility of reliable supply chains, and roadblocks posed by not being able to quickly shift into manufacturing PPE. In response to these concerns, we drafted legislation that would secure permanent funding for New Jersey MEP, who will then be able to continue to provide incredible award-winning support for our state's manufacturers. In regard to helping produce PPE in New Jersey, we are currently working on legislation that would create a permanent stockpile of PPE in New Jersey and create a state-level approval process of PPE, allowing more of our New Jersey-based manufacturers to help ensure we have the necessary supplies to combat COVID-19 now and in the future. Manufacturing is the backbone of a strong American and New Jersey economy. It is important that we continue our work in the State House advocating for you. Manufacturers will play a key role in helping our state's and nation's economy recover from the crisis we currently find ourselves in. Thank you.
I am delighted and it's an honor to speak with you today. And first off, I'd like to thank John Kennedy and his team for putting together this virtual event under certainly difficult circumstances. It's great to be together sharing ideas. Today, I'd like to provide some perspective on the economy, banking, and leadership, and talk a bit about Investors Bank and how we are responding to today's climate. One time, famous New Jersey resident Albert Einstein once said, "Strive not to be of success, but rather to be of value." This applies not just to individuals, but also to businesses, to all of you. At Investors, we strive to be of value, not just during this pandemic, but always. A bank customer can go anywhere for a product. Banking is a service business. And what matters is the real and lasting value that the employees of a bank create for each and every customer. Banks that put customers' needs first, create partnerships and support local economies are the ones that are going to succeed. And this could mean helping local governments with funding needs or supporting businesses by lending for machinery, inventory, and new facilities. Banks need to understand the short and long-term economic trends. So let's spend a couple seconds. Let's consider recent economic data. Nationally, third quarter growth could exceed 20%, the highest since World War II. Unemployment rates are falling sharply, but that's likely to slow down. The economy is healing faster than expected, and job growth is robust as companies bring people back to work, and this is keeping the income gains solid. But business investment spending remains soft, and export activity is depressed, which will limit future growth. Our greater New York, Philadelphia area faces a different future as a result of this pandemic. In our markets, unemployment rates skyrocketed, and employment fell at greater rates than the nation as a whole. There was an exodus from high-density housing to suburban areas, which have caused a drop in rental housing costs in the cities, but boosted housing costs and demand in the suburbs. And although we don't yet know the full impact of work from home, it is clear many businesses that depended on high density of workers will not survive. Even a partial change to workplace locations can harm the microeconomies supported by worker densities in our cities. Changes in housing, CRE, and consumer-driven business demand is likely to slow what had looked like a very strong outlook for future growth before the pandemic. The banking industry weathered this storm created by the pandemic. Banks are well capitalized and in good financial position. This changing structure of demand and the sudden altercation in business and household location preferences are putting loans to businesses in high-density areas, including owners of multifamily units and commercial properties, at risk. In addition, the inevitable ending of the government's support of households and businesses will lead to rising bankruptcies and defaults. It is likely that after these conditions edge closer to normal, financial firms will move cautiously until the extent of the shakeout becomes clear. I think we can agree these are interesting times, and leading a business in these times can be challenging and sometimes overwhelming. I like to remember what John Maxwell said in his book, Leader Shift, 11 Essential Changes Every Leader Must Embrace. As leaders, we need to stay ahead. We need to see more than others, and we need to see before others. The more nimble, adaptable, and flexible we are, the more quickly we can move and change. As COVID-19 began overtaking our lives, we quickly learned what it meant to pivot. As the pandemic took hold, investors was in the same position as many companies, as many of you, making decisions on Tuesday that had to be changed on Wednesday. Bankers are essential workers, and our services had to continue without disruption. Investors had to pivot. We adapted to a new way of doing business. Our technology group implemented technology solutions so corporate and back office staff could work seamlessly and, most importantly, safely from home. We kept all our branches open to continue serving our customers, but modified operations to comply with social distancing and serving the customers through drive-through locations. Our lobbies were open by appointment only, and we encouraged everyone to safely bank from home with our mobile and online banking solutions. The bank's first priority was and continues to be the safety and health of our customers and employees. But we also knew it was vital for many of our business customers to obtain assistance from the government programs such as the Paycheck Protection Program. Investors is and was not a traditional SBA lender, but we sprang into action to get our clients a seat at the table. In the first round, it was difficult. We were only able to fund few requests, but on the second round, we turned the ship around in the Hudson River. We had 150 associates from across the bank, many working 24/7, many remotely, to process as many applications as possible. And this time, in the second round, we prevailed. We secured more than $330 million in SBA loans, including $48 million for nonprofits, which helped the communities recover. As a result of our efforts, some 40,000 jobs were kept in New York and New Jersey. We worked also to distress the situation by working with our customers to defer loan payments. Some needed just a couple of months to get back on their feet. Others may need 6 months. And there are certain clients, those in education, hospitality, and nonprofits, who will need our continued support until we can get this economy back to normal. I am uncertain, however, what normal actually will look like, even in the banking industry. Initiating new relationships remains difficult because we are not 100% back to face-to-face meetings. The processes we use for assessing risk and onboarding new clients no longer work in the same way. Short and long-term visibility of a business during a pandemic is sometimes difficult at best. And how can we make those tough credit decisions? The companies that present as well capitalized with diversified revenues and a plan for long-term sustainability, that's the easy ones. They're the no-brainers. What about the others? Should our analysis rely on pre-COVID operating results that may be stale or so many months later? Or do we use the projections that are based on estimates when, quote, normal returns? And how do we support those companies on the bubble? This all remains a critical question. I would suggest that all of you maintain and create new banking relationships. Work with your banker and call them as soon as you can. For many of us, the key to a return to normal will rest on the shoulders of government. As we found out with the implementation of the PPP, the role of the SBA, and other government agencies in support of economic growth is more important than ever. Direct lending and credit enhancements or guarantee programs need to be continually streamlined and improved. Public-private partnerships are necessary. Regulatory support needs to remain in line with the banks to help them support businesses. An uptick in consumer and corporate confidence will help move us closer to normal. On the consumer side, it likely will require a vaccine and effective treatment. Those will aid corporate confidence, as will tax incentives for PP&E and support for our workers. But it's not all gloom and doom. We move nothing forward by remaining pessimistic. As business leaders, we need to push forward. And I think all businesses can make a difference. We can all be of value. In banking, for example, I'm not talking about just providing financial solutions, but really working to make a difference in the communities we serve. Being a good corporate citizen creates self-sufficiency, encourages growth, and most importantly, it strengthens our communities. During this pandemic, at Investors Bank, we have relied on our tradition as a community bank. We have been driven to keep moving forward by our core values of cooperation, character, commitment, and community. We were determined throughout this pandemic to continue to serve our customers and care for our neighbors. And one way we did this was through our Investors Foundation, which has awarded over $2.4 million to more than 400 organizations providing health care, food shelter, and other necessary services so desperately needed in our communities during this pandemic. Our employees have been working to help the most vulnerable in the communities we serve. They called elderly customers to check in on them, made food deliveries to those unable to leave their homes. They packed and distributed hundreds of lunches for the frontline healthcare workers who are the heroes in this pandemic. And I've often asked myself, even before the pandemic, can you be successful in corporate America and still do business by a set of values that aims for the greater good? And I think the answer is not only is it possible, but it's preferable, especially today. The secret can be summed up in 3 words: put others first. When we strive for personal success, we think only about ourselves. We are being selfish instead of selfless. When you truly care about other people and put their needs first, they follow you. Not because they have to or were told to, but most importantly, they want to. And I've learned over the years that it is the servant leader, not the self-serving leader, who wins trust, respect, and loyalty. We've been fortunate. Investors Bank has grown significantly in the last few years. We have over $27 billion in assets. Our growth is a sign of that success. But as our former chairman, Bob Cashel, said, it's not enough to be successful. We must strive to be significant. And it's moving from success to significance that enables a company to create a purpose and a legacy, and one that has a lasting impact on its customers and the communities we serve. When we aim to be significant, we are, as Einstein noted in the first quote, working to be of value. We are directed towards the well-being of others. We work daily to be true to our roots as a community bank, and we contribute to the prosperity of our local communities. We think it is about doing business in a way that is most beneficial for all. Striving to be of service to others and to society as a whole is our greater purpose. This year and this pandemic has challenged us all. And it's at times it has made us fearful. But we must have faith and hope and put fear aside as we move forward. As Winston Churchill said, may the pain you have known and the conflict you have experienced give you the strength to walk through life, facing each new situation with courage and optimism. Let's continue to follow those guidelines and gather our strength to get through this pandemic with both courage and optimism. Thank you for your time today. It's been great to share my thoughts with you. God bless and be safe.
Good morning. I'm Peter Oken, the Director of Marketing and Public Relations at NJMEP. I'd like to say a few quick words, but first I want to thank Governor Murphy, our keynote speakers, and thank you to each and every one of our main event sponsors, RSM and Witham, our breakout session, media, and Made in New Jersey sponsors. This event wouldn't have been possible without your support. Now this concludes the complimentary portion of Manufacturing Day. Coming up next are the breakout sessions. Only full access attendees will be able to take part in the breakout sessions. A complete list of those breakout sessions is available on the agenda tab at the top of your page. You still have time to purchase a full access pass, so don't worry. The registration is $50 and 50% of it will be donated to the Community Food Bank of New Jersey and Fulfill Food Bank. For full access attendees, click on the agenda tab, and below the search bar at the top of the page, you'll see a tab called My Registered Sessions. Click that tab and then click through to the upcoming breakout session. Now, breakout sessions are going to start exactly at 9:45. So until then, we encourage you to go visit the virtual exhibit hall and visit with our amazing sponsors. And then come back at 9:45 and click on the breakout session that you're registered for. With that, let's kick off part 2 of Manufacturing Day. You still have time to upgrade to full access, so don't miss out. Enjoy.
Well, Tim, that was pretty good, pretty interesting. Phil Murphy laid out exactly what his thoughts and plans are with regards to manufacturing in New Jersey and all of the other dignitaries from the state. John Kennedy, of course, he can talk 4 days about NJMEP. We hope that his handler will have held him back a bit. I think he did, because he didn't talk that much. But very interesting, and we'd like to hear your comments. You can reach us at manufacturingtalkradio.com and let us know your thoughts about this event. Tim?
For those of you who watch this live, please pass the word along to your colleagues that they can come to mfgtalkradio.com and see the entire program that was put together by the New Jersey Manufacturing Extension Partnership. And our thanks to Mr. John Kennedy, the CEO, for working with us to put this together. You can also go to jacketmediaco.com and listen to all 6 podcasts that we produce there, including this show, Manufacturing Talk Radio, the WHAM podcast, Women in Manufacturing and Business, Manufacturing Matters with Cliff Waldman, who talks about manufacturing and the economy, Where's Willie, who talks to us from the production floor as he travels the country to manufacturers, Hazard Girls, which is an interesting show about women in unusual roles in industry, and Full Time with Amy, who talks about the work-life balance. As always, we appreciate you watching this show from Manufacturing Talk Radio, and be sure to catch us at jacketmediaco.com. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Manufacturing Talk Radio is a free weekly podcast bringing you the latest developments in the manufacturing industries. It's brought to you by All Metals and Forge Group, and our guests include manufacturing luminaries from the shop floor to the C-suite, from 3D printing startups to global players in the manufacturing industries. Every week we bring to you information that you won't find anywhere else. We've had over 1 million downloads in the last couple of years. Visit mfgtalkradio.com. We'll see you next time.